Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we're back again with a great interview we did this week. I was very excited to do that, and we're going to go right into a lot of stuff to talk about. Our usual format, got some things to catch up on, got some SummerSlam preview to talk about. We've got hopefully a big episode coming up, the next one, post SummerSlam, a lot to talk about. So let's get rolling. Ed, you know what we do? We always do this first, but special interview this week. Go ahead.
Well, tonight's interview, it is brought to you by Goongard, goongard.com. Check them out. Best mouthpieces. Check out Andy on the screen. He's got a picture of him. Check him out. Promo code 1973. Andy, take it away.
So I just want to touch, Brad wasn't there for the interview. The professor and Ed were on the call that we had with a fantastic Division I hockey player, a young lady by the name of Kailey Smith from, I believe, where is it, Ed? Where she plays? Sacred Heart.
Framingham, Massachusetts.
Yep, she's from Framingham, plays for Sacred Heart, D1 school, D1 athlete, coach, mentor, molding young youth, as we say. Just real quick before I drop the interview in, I want to say, what did you guys think of the interview?
I thought it was really good. I thought she was very well spoken, and it was very interesting to hear her story and of how she got started, and some of the stories she told about people that she knows that are playing at BC and BU. I mean, there's some big. She's got some big connections.
Ed, thoughts on the interview?
I thought it was great. She was super well spoken. She's very well polished. Her story was very interesting on how, she took us pretty much from when she first started all the way up to what she's doing now. One of the things that really stuck out to me was that
she loves my kid.
Well, there's that. Yeah, but I mean, she made mention of making sure that as you kind of progress, and you get more and more serious, that some of the tournaments that you play in, you should kind of keep it fun or not even playing them. And I thought that was a big one. And I also thought when she touched on the things that she did off ice and the off ice conditioning along with the nutritionist and that type of thing, that was really good too, because that's kind of the part that you never hear of about people going to the show or taking the next step in their athletic career. Nutrition, rest, recovery is super, super important. And I'm glad that she touched on that.
Yeah, before I drop the interview in, I just wanted to say that the thing that I took away from it was, I remember a lot of the guys that are sports guys, Darren being one of them, Ryan being another one, always talking about coaching philosophies and things like that. And it's nice to get a perspective from different people on their coaching path and their pros and cons, what they learned as a player that they bring to being a coach, and the things that as a coach they would never do to their players. And I love that aspect of it. So great interview. I'm going to drop it in probably right around here somewhere. Hello, everyone, and welcome to a very special interview segment of the 1973 podcast. We're here with, I'd like to say, a friend, a coach, Kailey Smith, D1 hockey player at Sacred Heart. Kailey, how's it going?
It's going great. Thank you for having me on.
I cannot wait to have an interview with you. I got a couple of personal questions. I'll save them for the end. Mm-hmm. And I'll say that we have a mutual connection through my daughter. And I have a couple questions about that too. Whether she's a pain in the ass or not, I want to know, but we'll save that towards the end. Okay. So first of all, I want to start by saying, how did your journey start from small child playing hockey to where you are now? How did it all start?
Yeah, so growing up, I had two older brothers that both played hockey, and my dad was super into it. My dad was president of my town program. And my mom was treasurer growing up. So hockey was all around me. I have a really vivid memory of going from dance class with my friends to hockey practice, and all the boys were making fun of me because I was in a pink tutu. So I remember telling my parents, like, oh, I'm quitting dance, like I just want to do hockey, which looking now, I'm super grateful that happened, but it was also very I mean, I think that's just childhood for you, but it was more just following my brother's footsteps. I wanted to be just like them. And my brothers are one's 8 years older than me and one's 5 years older than me. And they've played on like Junior Bruins. They played on Crusaders, which I don't think is a program anymore. Growing up, they played on Flames. So they did the prep school route as well. So I think it was just something to just get closer with them.
Now, we'll pause you right there, and I'm going to ask the guys if they have any questions so far. Ed, do you have anything?
I'm gonna have to say, what's your favorite memory of like traveling with like under 12 when you were playing? Like, where's the place?
Yeah, I played on the Flames growing up. I went to Flames for my first year of U10s, I want to say it was. It was my first all girls team. I just played boys. And we ended up winning states. And that was like, I think it's still called states. Yeah, we won the state championship for like the club or whatever it is. And I just remember that and now I'm on Sacred Heart, and I play with the girl that scored the winning goal in our state like championship, and it's like crazy. It was tier 2, but I can remember that so vividly, and my mom has a picture of my face and my cheeks are like so red. But that was just like a really good feeling, and most of the girls that I played with now played D1, D3, and I'm lucky enough to still play with a couple of them.
So the Lady Flames are out of Marlborough, I believe.
Yeah.
That rink is fantastic.
Yeah, the banner's still hanging in that rink 1, the original rink.
I'll have to look the next time I'm there. I'm interested to see it, but that's cool. So from there, I noticed that Abbotsford Valley. You played for them too? Was that in your?
I don't think so.
repertoire?
What was it called?
Abbotsford Valley. I was on the hockey prospects, and they had you listed playing for them. So it's probably my mistake or a typo on there.
Maybe. I played 495 Stars. That was co-ed. I played like Boston Lightning, which was co-ed. I went after Flames, I went to the Boston Junior Eagles. And I loved that program. I had a lot of fun there. It was really well run. I had like Dave Heimovitz as my coach and John Joyce. His sons play at BC. And then I ended up leaving and going to Assabet Valley. And I had I had a coach his name was Dennis Lang, and he was amazing. He was a great coach. And then we had some issues just with USA Hockey. And he ended up not being able to coach anymore. So then I went to a program called CPC, which was just an in-house, kind of, you played skills and then you had a game in-house, and it was like 4 teams, and finished out that as my club team while I was playing prep at Cushing.
So when did you decide to go the prep school route? Like what made you decide, going away from like New England Girls, which is a fantastic league, and go more towards like deciding to go prep school? Because we're really close to Tabor Academy.
Yeah.
So we're down that way, and I believe Cushing's in that division. I believe.
Yeah. So both my brothers went to prep school. My dad did a PG year at a prep school, and my uncle went to Tabor and played hockey there. I think they won the title whatever year he was there, for boys hockey. I think I remember doing a lot of Premier Prospects, which is run by Kathy Pippi, who also she used to run the Selects program, like it was called World Selects, and I did a couple tournaments with her. I did one in Bolzano, Italy, and then another one in Chamonix, France. And I had a lot of fun there, and I was kind of deciding between going to an academy, like a BK Selects, or staying kind of closer to home and going prep. And I can tell you I probably toured 15 prep schools from Westminster, Exeter, Tabor, New Hampton, Cushing. I looked everywhere. And just I had a lot of friends that were going to Cushing. At that age, we had some girls that were already committed. So my age group was I was talking to college coaches my 8th grade year. And then come my freshman year, we were told it was going to be cut off. So I had some girls that were like 13 going into high school, already committed to like Northeastern and like verbally committed to Harvard. And then we had like my other half, my grade, where girls were just trying to like figure out where they were going to high school. But ultimately I thought it'd be a good academic fit for me, living on campus, having a really good like structured schedule, is kind of where I found I succeeded. I went to a really small elementary school. I went to like a small Catholic school called St. Bridget's, and that was where I felt that I learned the best, was in a small classroom. I ended up going to Framingham Public Schools in middle school and kind of struggled with the class sizes being so big and kind of the lack of like one-on-one with teachers. So going to a small prep school with a very small like student to teacher ratio is super important to me. Cushing was really helpful with learning disabilities. So I have executive functioning, which just kind of prevents me from like learning a foreign language. So kind of them being able to help guide me through that process of, getting testing from that and learning how to best study with my learning disability and stuff like that. So that's why I really chose a prep school. I think I would have gone to prep even if it wasn't hockey. And then the reason I chose Cushing was really because of my high school coach. Her name's Val Bono. She played at Providence and she's coached at Cushing for, I want to say like 15 years, probably more now. She would text me every week, just checking in, seeing how my grades were, seeing how I was, upcoming like games. She was great about just like recruitment. She really cared about you as a person and she got to know your family, which I thought was really nice. I think a lot of prep school coaches are kind of like, well, if you get in and then we'll figure it out from there. So yeah.
Let me pause right there, Tom. I'll let you jump in with a question.
Sure. At what age did something click in you and you figured out that you were really good at it and you wanted to take it a little more serious?
So when I went from the Boston Junior Eagles to Aspet Valley, that's when I kind of discovered that I was maybe a little bit better than just like a town program, because the coach, like I said, Dennis Lang, he took me from playing. So I didn't play 2 years of U14. I went straight up to U16 because he was like, you're too good to play on the U14 team and I'm going to stack this U16 team. And on that, I think every single girl on that team is now playing Division I. I think there's like 4 out on BC, 2 on Harvard, 2 on Princeton, 1's at Colby. I mean, that team was it was just a lot of girls that were driven to go beyond just high school and the level of play. And like the people we'd work with, my skills coach was like Alex Molnar, who's pretty well known now. It was a very well run program. It was very, very hard to keep up with, though. I will say, like, transitioning into that, I mean, it was like, whoa. Like it was almost like you had to be on every day, but I think that got me really prepared for college. So
I have a question about at what point, in your opinion, as a coach and a player, should a young girl that plays hockey transition to exclusively playing with girls?
I wish I had stayed in boys longer, personally. I have a really good friend, Riley Walsh, who also coaches at Atlantic with me. She played on the Minuteman Flames until they started checking. I would personally stay with boys until checking. I mean, I think it's a faster paced game. I think honestly, girls are a lot of drama a lot of the time. I think playing on a boys team, it's less drama and like you're on the go, go, go. So I would have stayed at boys longer if I could go back. And looking at girls who came from boys programs, I could name 3 off the top of my head. Skylar Sharfman, she's going into BC now. She just finished her PG year at Naha. Mia Bonarosa, who is going to Dartmouth, and then Riley Walsh, who was at Union, and now she's going to BU. I would say all 3 of those came in super late. They were like girls that like when I was with my friends, we were like, who is this? How is she like, who is this girl? How is she from Mass? I think a vivid memory is when they were trying out at festival with us, like going to like national camp tryouts. So, I mean, it was a big discrepancy between their skill level and how fast they were and with the girls. So, yeah.
Ed, question for Kailey.
I sure do. So since you transitioned from prep school to now a Division I school, so what are you doing for like body maintenance, nutrition wise and stuff like that? Which, taking that jump from prep, pretty much from like what would be like a high school kind of a program to prep school, I know that's a big jump, that you're more kind of like a college athlete, more treated more like a Division I college athlete. Now you're playing for a Division I school. What are you doing for yourself body maintenance wise? What do you do in the off season? What's your nutrition program look like?
Yeah. So, my nutrition program, focusing on that, is just a lot of home cooked meals. I try not to eat out just because I don't know what's really going into my body. So I try to cook as much as I can. Just staying clean. I mean, obviously a cookie once in a while isn't gonna hurt me. I'm a big Diet Coke fan, which I hope my mom doesn't listen to that, or else she'll be mad. But I would say like a large part of that is like drinking enough water, getting enough sleep. Sleep's a big thing. My team right now is working on getting Whoops, if anyone's familiar with that. It's just like a band that tracks like your sleep, your like menstrual cycle, your like how many calories you're burning for lift and stuff, just things that as athletes you really should be tracking. Definitely on recovery. I just had a shoulder injury. Not terrible, just kind of pulled, like strained my shoulder. So for that, I'm doing rehab. Off season, I'm living down at Sacred Heart, so I'm currently in Bridgeport. I work out every morning and I usually skate like 4 times a week. So I'll do like a 4v4 league and then do skills with some of the Sacred Heart girls and some pro girls that skate with us. I would just say like try not to get burnt out. Hockey's like the longest season. And it is a lot when you're 20 hours a week and like you're also having school and a social life and just like you're on the go, go, go. So I'd say like definitely training in the off season, getting better, doing skills, but trying my best to not get burnt out. I mean, going to prep school, I can note a couple times at Cushing where I definitely got burnt out just with hockey and like living at your high school is not it's definitely fun, but it's not always like the best. So I would just say balancing it. Going into my junior year, I think I found a pretty good balance with it. But definitely I think my number one thing is just sleep. I'm a huge sleeper and I can't take naps, so making sure I'm going to bed early and waking up at a decent time as well.
I'll have to mention that Ed has got a background in certified training and nutrition, so that's probably why he asked that question.
That's where it's coming from.
Yeah, we have a nutritionist come in the beginning of the year that kind of talks us through like just what to do pre-games and what to eat the night before, stuff like that, which is my routine's been pretty regular throughout high school and college. We get like meals made for us the night before games and like pre-game skate, we'll get breakfast made for us or lunch taken in. So like we're pretty like well fed and everything like that. Definitely protein. I don't know if you know what Endorphin is. It's a guy from I want to say LIU. He created this brand. It's called Endorphin, but a lot of college or a lot of hockey Division I programs are sponsored by them, and it's like probably the best protein I've ever tasted as long as it's mixed well. So yeah.
Well, protein
Tom.
powder has that problem though, being mixed well, no matter it kind of gets that chalky or gets stuck
Yeah.
to the blender, and that's kind of like the nature of the beast when you're dealing with protein powder. So
Yeah.
that's interesting. I've never heard of that, but that's always nice to because I've coached a lot of athletes that have done Ironmans and half Ironmans and stuff like that, and all of a sudden you talk to them about nutrition, and you're like, well, what are you eating the night before a race? And oh, this is what I have. And you're like, yeah, that's not going to go so well for you when you get out on the course,
Yeah.
and that type of thing. Or you talk to them, and you're like, well, how are you feeling during the race? And they're like, oh, I eat whatever. And you're like, well, how do you feel out on the run? They're like, I feel terrible. So, it's nutrition is such a huge part, and you hit definitely on that thing. Sleep is paramount to staying healthy and resting and recovering for sure.
Yeah.
Tom, question?
Yeah. As a woman, how often has it come up where you've run into some chauvinism and you feel like somebody trying to hold you back because of being a girl?
I mean, I would say it's kind of like a lack of respect when it comes to like being an athlete. I think a lot of like males and on the boys side of things, they perceive it as like, oh, well, it's easier to get to be a Division I athlete as a girl. And I do see why they would think that way, because when you look at a male pro hockey player and a woman pro hockey player, there are differences. But the thing is, we're competing against other females and the same as they're competing against other males. So I think sometimes that doesn't click. I do think on the coaching side of things, I think sometimes I coach for the boys for Atlantic Coast, and I think the boys are very shocked when I say, no, I'm a Division I athlete. Like I played Division I ice hockey, I play at Sacred Heart. And I don't think that exactly clicks all the time. They kind of just think I'm talking to hear myself talk rather than coaching. But I have fun with it. That's kind of the only time I ever like feel like I have to prove myself even more. But around Sacred Heart, I mean, I would say like fellow athletes, like we have a really good I know some other schools, there's large discrepancies between what a men's team gets and what a women's team gets. I can tell you like at SHU, it's pretty equal, despite other than the fact like when the men's get donations that are like direct donations to their team, like whether that's like a helmet or like they have iPads and we don't. But like some of that stuff, I feel like we don't really need iPads. We don't need chrome helmets. So I'm really grateful for the school I chose for doing that. But yeah.
A quick question. Favorite rink and favorite place that hockey has taken you?
Probably Bolzano, Italy. That's probably my favorite rink and favorite place hockey has taken me. It was like a super old barn. It almost like the wood going right across, almost like the way Yale looks, or if anyone's ever been to like Loring Arena where it just scoops over the top and it's all wood, old. But then you'd walk out and it was just the Alps. Like the Alps were just right behind you. So I think that was probably the best rink. It was also really cold, so it was good ice. I hate when the ice is slow, and yeah, it's not for me.
Like a standard MDC rink.
Yeah, I'm playing in Beantown this weekend, and I got my schedule and it said like at some Franklin rink. And I can tell you Beantown and I've played Beantown since I was a U12. I've never played Beantown at the Franklin rink. I don't think I've ever even been inside the Franklin rink. So
it looks exactly like all the other ones. It's up on a hill. They all look the same. They were all built around that 1972 Bobby Orr boom. They all look the same. Plymouth, New Bedford, Fall River, Franklin, they all look the same. It's like you've been in one, they had two small locker rooms, two big locker rooms, and yeah, it's time has passed. It's time to renovate those things, blow them out a little bit, make those locker rooms bigger, blow out the parking lot a little bit, put a mini rink in the back for the kids. Tom, another question.
Yeah. What's the best advice you could give to a young girl who sees you and sees how well you're doing, and they ask how they get to be where you are as a college player and beyond?
Yeah. Looking back, I would say take like every skill session and every practice as seriously as possible. Like sometimes I look back and I think like I half-assed that like practice or that specific drill. And it's just like you're out on the ice. Ice is expensive. Now knowing as a coach how expensive it really is, like you got to make it worth it. I think I would have been a better hockey player if I had done that at a younger age. My dad would always say like, not paying for these skills just for you to like half-ass it, Kailey. But I would also say have fun with it. I think recently coaching we lost in a championship and I had a lot of girls that were really down on themselves and they're like U12s and I'm just like this is the time to have fun. This is summer hockey. Like try new things. You're with people that you don't skate with normally and like that's the best time. Like I've met some of my best friends at summer hockey that like lived in the Midwest and I'd only see them at a couple tournaments here or there. And now those girls are doing so many good things. Like they're at Wisconsin and they're on the national team or whatever it may be. And we're like still in contact. So I think just have fun with it and just make sure that every time you're out on the ice, you take full advantage of it.
Ed, question?
So, are you planning on coaching when you get done with college, or are you?
So as of right now,
what are you thinking?
Yeah, so as of right now, I just took over the women's director with Ava Doyle for Atlantic Coast. So I've been coaching for Atlantic for the past 2 summers. I coached Freeman youth hockey with my dad growing up from when I was in middle school and high school. Whenever I could, I would. I don't know. I definitely see myself after hockey is over, either going to travel. I did a study abroad program earlier this summer and I went to Ireland for 2.5 weeks. And I think just realizing like hockey was such a big part of my life. Like I really haven't had a vacation or anything, which I am very lucky to play at the rink I do and go to the school I do and play the sport I love so much. But I do think I want to see other parts of the world. Like I want to go on vacation and spend time with my family. Like my whole family lives in Maine now and I'm like down here. So I only see my family for 4th of July. And otherwise I'm like coaching on the weekends or I'm training. So I think just taking some time off, figuring it out. But I am a sports marketing major and a business analytics minor. So I could see myself working within a women's program. I was an internship for NCAA for regionals when they were at the Bridgeport rink in 2023, I want to say it was. And I recently had an internship with Whoop that just ended like a month ago. So I'm around the field. What that looks like when I graduate, I'm not really sure. But I think continuing to work for Atlantic, I mean, it brings me a lot of joy working with kids and like seeing their development. Even this past weekend, like those girls were definitely better than me at that age. So I mean, it's exciting to watch the younger generations and how they get so much better. Like even like with the boys, like you'll watch boys and they'll be like, that kid was better than me at that age. Like I can't imagine how good he's gonna be now. So
I have an item I'm going to show you, and you tell me the first thing you think of when you see it.
okay. Oh, your daughter. She asked me to sign a puck. I mean, I can remember I met if anybody knows who Kayla Barnes is. So I'm a defenseman. At SHU I no longer played defense, but hoping to go back to there this year. And when I met Kayla Barnes, I literally started crying. And Kayla Barnes is only 4 or 5 years older than me. Like she was still playing in college my freshman year. So yeah, I think it's just really cool that like, you can be somewhat of a like role model to the younger girls, just like helping them and telling them things that you wish someone told you. I mean, I had a lot of great role models growing up. I had Katrin Lonergan, who played at BC and then transferred to Clarkson, and now she runs the Level Girls program. Jessie Jakes, who played at Maine, transferred to Merrimack. Her dad played at Maine as well. They run the Team One program. Just a lot of people around me that were great role models and really were focused on Division One hockey, and they kind of like helped pave the way for my generation and future generations, I'd say.
Well, I can definitely tell you that you made an impression on my youngest, and she is a fan. I don't
Thank
know,
you.
what you said in the locker room or how you handled her, because she can be a handful at times. She's like sandpaper, that one. So, but yeah, she definitely has nothing but high regard for you coaching wise. I just when I go to the rink and it's her and she has her own thing, I just stay on the sidelines. I don't get involved. I'm not one of those parents that is co-coaching or one of those people that make deals in the car. Like if you score 3 goals, I'll buy you this. Or if
I know.
if
Yeah.
I never do that. There's
Mhm.
no side. I'm there for her. It's her journey, not mine. My coaching officially ended last year. I said, Kennedy, I'm done. That's it.
Yeah.
I was hanging on for you and your brother, but it's too much. It's just
Mhm.
the parents
I
burnt me
think
out.
my dad was like the same way. My dad stopped coaching, I think, when I started fighting him back on the bench about things he'd say.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can even remember like in prep school, like I had it was my sophomore year, and I had a stress fracture in my leg, and I didn't know it. I was being told it was shin splints, but it wasn't. And I had a terrible tournament, like terrible, like probably the worst hockey I've ever played. And I remember my dad walked out of the rink, and my dad would sit at like the top of the corner at Cushing. And my dad's big, like when he gets mad, he just sits there and you can like see his face. And I remember he walked out and I was like, oh God. But I honestly think it's worse that he wasn't coaching, because coaching on the bench, he can't leave and he just tells me. Whereas I think after the game, he was just like, no, I got to go home, and just left. It was like it was the craziest thing, but I think it's better. I think sometimes I used to listen to other coaches more than I listened to my dad. Looking back, my dad was more accurate than some of the other coaches, but
Yeah. But like I said, if I could just tell you personally while I have you on the podcast, that she has nothing but love and respect for you.
Yeah.
And that's great. So hopefully you guys have made a connection. Hopefully maybe it grows from there. And if there's any way you want to push her a certain way that you see that works for her, I'm all for it.
I know. She's a forward, but she's playing D.
Yeah.
And I was the opposite. I came into college as a defenseman, and we had 12 defensemen. And I looked at my coach and I was like, do you mind if I go take a couple reps at forward? My coach was like, go for it, like whatever you want. And I didn't play my first game. I got healthy scratched our first scrimmage against Clarkson, and then we ended up having a girl that got hurt. And my coach was like, hey, Kailey, I want you to play. Like, I've seen a lot of good things, but I want you to play as a fourth line forward. And I was like, huh? Well, you want me to do what? And I ended up playing, and then by the end of the year, I had worked myself up to like first, second line, and then beginning of this year, I was starting with my first line and like maintained that. But my goal really is to go back to D. Right, that happens this year, but playing is better than not playing, I'd say.
Agree.
Yeah.
The question I have is the Professional Women's Hockey League. Thoughts on that? Any aspirations to get involved with that?
I think it's great. I mean, they're doing a lot of great things for women's hockey. Personally, I think if I were going to play pro, I'd want to do it somewhere in Europe. I think, I don't know. I think just I want to see the world. I don't really want to stay in Minnesota or Boston or wherever else. So yeah, I have a teammate that's going. She actually is flying out in 2 days, I want to say. She's going to play over in Switzerland. And I mean, it's going to be the coolest experience. I had a 5th year on my team who transferred from Colgate, and her twin sister played overseas. She loved it. So I think I've heard a lot of good things about it, and I think that's totally my ballpark.
How did you end up making the decision to jump on board with Atlantic Coast while you were still, and so involved with, playing? How'd you
Yeah.
make that?
So I want to say last year was my first year coaching. And Mike had reached out through like Instagram. I think I had followed the account because I saw it on their boys' side. They do a bunch of like videos, like hype videos, where like MS Films will come and do like a video of the boys playing whatever. I think I followed the account, and then he was talking to me about how they were starting a girls program, and Kayla Friesen was gonna run it. And I was like, yeah, I'd be more than happy to come and coach, see how it goes. So I went and coached my first weekend with Ava Doyle, who coached a few games with me, and we really liked it. I think we worked with, they couldn't have been more than 8. I think we worked with like 8-year-olds for boys, and then found like a kind of primary spot for like the what would they be, 2010s boys, which I felt was a really good age where the boys understood that you were a coach and had a level of respect for you. Any older was kind of like, I'm a 2004, so like some of the kids could have been in high school with me if I went any older, so I just like didn't want to do that. And then I think any younger, they were kind of in that age where they're like, you're a girl. So I love coaching them. I think they are like the best age group for boys. And on the girls' side, I could coach any age group and have a good time. But I think deciding to take over the program on the girls' side was a really hard decision. I definitely couldn't do by myself. But I found it to be pretty fulfilling, honestly, like filling rosters, knowing girls and like seeing their development, even the last like 2 summers, I mean, is crazy. And it's like fun to watch. It's really fun to watch, and it's a pleasure to be an outlet to girls who need some guidance in like the hockey world, or answer questions for parents that want to hear from someone who like recently went through prep school or recently was coached by this coach or that coach.
That's
Yeah,
this
I think
guy right now.
I think it's one thing to hear it from a prep school coach or from a college coach, but it's another thing to hear it from a student or a player.
Tom, question?
Yeah. Is there anything you learned as a player that you've taken with you and used as a head coach?
Yeah, I would say being positive. I think in high school, I struggled a lot with, if I was playing bad, I would just be a negative attitude. So I definitely think emphasizing that to girls playing, that it has larger repercussions than you would think. Like college coaches notice your body language, they notice your attitude. Other coaches notice it. So I would say catching on to that faster. I mean, I still kind of struggle with it a little bit in college, just maintaining a like positive out attitude when I'm not playing my best. But I think constantly telling that to the girls. We were in a championship game and it was 2-1, and a girl got a penalty, and I had a lot of girls gave up. Like we had like I think a minute 30 left, and a lot of girls were just like, why should we even try? Like we're not going to score. And it was like we had beaten the team before, so it was really hard to watch. And I think just once I got into the locker room afterwards, I think my biggest thing telling the girls was like, you guys gave up. You gave up on that game way before it was over, and just it was an attitude issue. It was an attitude and effort issue, truly. And like they really could have won that game. It's just, I don't think they came out as prepared as they could have been. They were kind of like, oh, we rolled over this team the first game, and now we're just going to go do it again. And I mean, the tournament wasn't the greatest competition. We had beaten a couple teams in the double digits. So I think they were on a high and then didn't really realize what they were up against. But I would just say continuously telling girls like, yep, have a good attitude. Like you're here to have fun. It's summer hockey. You don't even have to worry about recruitment yet. Like just have fun with it while you can, because then it gets serious, and then it's like it's a job to a certain extent.
Tom, follow-up question?
Yeah, actually, I'm going to flip that now. And what have you learned as a coach that you could take back as a player?
I think in reverse, that is still making sure I'm having fun at hockey. Like as much as hockey is fun for me, it truly is. Like we have a great team. I have a 34-man roster this year at SHU, which means where everyone's gonna be like kind of fighting tooth and nail for playing time. But I think that's the best part about it, is I'm playing on a team where it's like you don't know if you're gonna be in that roster, so you better work your ass off all week to be in that roster come Thursday night. And I kind of live off of that. I strive off of that kind of pressure, is like understanding like I know what I need to do in order to be the player I need to be in that lineup. So yeah, I would say still having fun with it, but like within that, like working your butt off. And like I think a lot of girls, like a lot of girls I was coaching, they love to stay out for 3 minutes, or like we had some long shifts and they just wouldn't listen to come off. And I remember a quote my dad used to tell me, or not even a quote, just saying he was like, if you're staying out for longer than 1:30 to a minute, like you're not skating hard enough. You're not, like you're not working hard enough off the puck. You're not winning your one-on-one battles. Like you should be bagged by the end of that 45-second shift. So keep reminding myself that too, that I should definitely I'm in shape, but be bagged, like work my butt off. So yeah.
The tournament was great from a parent perspective, but I can see everything exactly what you're talking about as far as the outcome. It was tough. It was tough watching it after you rolled over a few of those teams, and then at the end to walk away with nothing. And the team that they lost to was finished third. They knocked off so it was very disappointing. That was a tough Sunday for
I think they brought in some girls. I think they brought in a couple girls, because I don't remember that team being as good as that. But.
So I'm glad that you said that, because I wasn't going to say that. The goalie's dad was adamant about that. And I asked my daughter if there was any different players, and she said at least one she said was not there on.
I think there was Beantown was going on as well, and I think Militia probably put in 2 teams. Beantown was definitely a better tournament, so in the future I think we'll do Beantown instead of that Tropical Meltdown.
Yeah.
Just for competition wise, like you want to play better teams, but I think Militia took a better team, put it in Beantown. That team got knocked out, and I'm thinking she took some of the girls and put them over for the championship game, because them beating Level was crazy. But yeah, I remember we were down like 2-0, and we saw like 15 minutes left, and the girls were just so down. So I literally took a timeout, and I was like, we got to fix this.
Yeah.
Like whatever mojo is going on, like needs to sway. And we were on them. I think if we had another like 5 minutes, I think we would have won that game. But
yeah, or a second period. You know what I mean? It was only one period. That was tough to kind of swallow. But it is what it is, right? It's hockey. It's summer hockey.
It's summer hockey, exactly.
Ed, question before we wrap everything up.
I'd have to say, what's your favorite pizza that you have to go through in Bridgeport? That I'm gonna go totally off the rails.
I work at Colony Grill in Milford. There's one in Fairfield. It's very, very good. I'm working there during the school year, and can tell you it's one of my favorites. Dave Portnoy does pizza reviews.
Oh, Presente,
yeah. And he reviewed it, and it was a high review, but definitely Colony Grill. It's owned by an old New York Rangers hockey player. I forget his name, but it's a franchise, and I think there's like 3 locations.
Is it Chris Drury that owns that?
Yeah,
it might be.
Yeah, yep, exactly.
Yeah. Oh, that hockey community, you can't get away from it.
No, you can't. I'm pretty sure that's why I got the job. I was like, I play hockey at SHU, looking for like a 1 shift a week. He's like, yeah, sure.
Awesome.
Well, if you ever hop on the ice with anybody from the boys team, Brandon Cardelli, I went to high school with his dad at Bishop Stang, so
okay, good to know.
And then my youngest brother actually graduated from Sacred Heart as well. So,
Oh, nice.
I'm living down here.
I mean, has he seen it recently?
I don't think he's been down since he graduated, to be honest with you.
I think you guys should come down because it is crazy. All of the new dormitories they've built. It looks like BC. Like we literally just look like a smaller BC. It's crazy. I mean, we just finished one and it's beautiful. It literally looks over, like it's above everything else. You can see like the tree line and everything like that. It's crazy.
No kidding.
Thomas,
Sounds beautiful.
questions? But
Yeah, my last question is, if you could do it all over again, is there anything you do differently?
skate harder.
Yeah, skate harder. I would also I would play less summer tournaments or like tournaments that didn't really matter. I think looking back, I think they were fun as a kid, but I think I could have kind of gotten better through skills. I did like a lot of those like 6-week camps that were like on ice skills, off ice. I loved those. I think those were great. I wouldn't do the tournaments that aren't great, like not great competitive kind of atmosphere, just kind of out there to skate. I think in high school I did more of those. I did like tournaments that were like with my friends and they're fun and they weren't getting me better, and I was essentially wasting my parents' money looking back at it. So I would do a lot of skills and a lot of in the gym.
Well, I'm gonna probably wrap it up, Kailey, and I just want to say from the Clark family, you left an impression on the daughter.
I'm glad.
I had to do this interview when she wasn't home, so she wouldn't bother me about the whole talking to you and don't say this, she said that, or don't say I was crying on the bench when we lost, or crying in the locker room. I just swiped this.
She knows I saw her. I said to her, I was like, "You're fine. Like you played great."
She's super competitive. Unlike her mother, she's super competitive. Yeah. She gets that from the old man.
I know a couple times she was like on the bench and had a really angry face on, and I walked over, I go, "You okay?" She was like, "Yeah." I go, "Is it the game or is it like something outside of the game?" She was like, "The game."
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh, you've only seen a small dose. Imagine a whole season of that.
I mean, it's a good attitude to have, though. It'll get her places. I think
hopefully
to be competitive than not be competitive.
Yeah, we'll have to circle those wagons when it's time to look at prep schools, because I'm coming to you. You'll still be in touch with her, hopefully through
most of the prep school coaches are the same, because I reached out. I have to fill a U16 roster, and I reached out to like a couple that I know that still coach, like the Williston coach that had recruited me, the Westminster, Cushing, New Hampton. I reached out to them and was like, "Hey, who's on your recruitment list for U16s, and can I have their names and their numbers?"
And the price list of how much it is and versus where I can get a discount.
We can go over that. Yeah, who gives out a lot of financial aid, because some schools give out none. I could take that. I mean, I think I looking back, I got a really good offer from Vermont Academy. It was like $12 a year. And I was like, why did I do that to my parents? Why didn't I just go? But I mean, I wanted to be closer to home. Vermont Academy would have been really far.
Well, I'll send her to Bora Bora if I can go for free with her. Yeah, let her go. If it's costing an arm and a leg, we're gonna cross it right off the list.
The thing you basically get screwed on, though, is the fact that you play prep school, then you also have to play club, like the split season. So I would even look into like NAHA, like an academy where it's like, yeah, you can still go to your high school after. Like we have a freshman coming in. She's from Suffield, Connecticut. She's really good. She's a defenseman. I skate with her every Monday night. And she went to NAHA, but still graduated at her public high school. So she would go and play the hockey season and do her like still stay with the school. So whether that was online classes or like doing whatever the teachers gave her for work. So staying with that school system. And then when the hockey season was over, she would go right back into school, which I thought was like really cool. You're not spending like, I think prep school's like $65 a year now, plus whatever. I mean, I think my club was like $2,500, I want to say, if that's probably going up.
You want me to have a heart attack on the podcast?
So, I mean, I would look at those personally. I mean, I think looking back, Naha was in Vermont when I was growing up, and Bishop Kearney was out in I think it's Rochester, New York, and I just couldn't imagine going that far away from home. Like Cushing was perfect. It was an hour away. I'd see my parents every Wednesday, and they'd pick me up Saturday nights after games, and I'd go play, and I'd go have a practice and play on a Sunday, and they'd drive me back, and then I'd see them again on Wednesday. I mean,
Crazy.
even down at CHU, everyone's like, "Oh, Kailey's parents are here." Like my parents are here every game, no matter where it is, and even like my dad is retired now, so he'll come down and like I don't have classes on Wednesdays or Fridays, and we'll grab like dinner or lunch on Wednesdays after practice. So it's only like 2 hours from my house. It's perfect.
The hockey community, it's crazy.
Yeah.
If you're not a part of it, you don't understand the road miles, the car rides, they're eating like junk. I mean, it's terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah.
But it's fun, and it all, hopefully in your case it all paid off. That's the best.
Definitely. I can't imagine being or skating at another rink besides this one. I mean, going from Cushing to this is great. I mean, Cushing was phenomenal. Cushing's one of the nicest kind of prep school rinks and locker room, and then going into Sacred Heart was like, okay, I'm good with this. I'll stay here for the next 4 years.
Yeah. So why don't we wrap it up? And I know you want to get your sleep, and it's a work night for us regular people. I got to work to pay for these tournaments and gas and things like that. But I just want to say thank you from the family for everything you did with Kennedy this past tournament, and hopefully it's started something great. Hopefully when hockey season starts, we were heavy on the Stanley Cup. We were heavy during the podcast. We'll have you back on for a regular episode. And
I'm excited, definitely.
Yeah, and yuck it up with the boys. I'm gonna have to send you some swag too, something. You let me know, a sweatshirt, t-shirt, hat. You let me know what you would be into,
definitely.
and I'll get it to you.
Maybe we can make a trade with a free tournament for a sweatshirt.
Free tournament. Oh, I'm all for that. That's the most expensive sweatshirt ever. Just you need two. I give you two for a free tournament. Jeez.
We have one coming up. We have Lady Militia.
Oh, that's gonna see. I don't want to end on a sour note. So I wanted to tell you that it's gonna be tough because her Spitfires winter team is going in, and they want, of course, I don't know. They want all the girls to play. Right. And, she's in high demand. So maybe if it was, we'll have to talk shop, because I like, my arm can be twisted. I will say that.
Okay, perfect. So love to hear it.
3 hoodies now you need. 2
sounds great.
To come back on, and one for a free tour. I'll take it. We'll talk. We'll barter off air.
Perfect.
So guys, do you want to thank Kailey for coming on? And I'll
absolutely. Thanks for coming on. It was great.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you so much for coming on. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It was a breath of fresh air.
You're part of the family now. You're part of the 1973 podcast family, officially.
Love it.
I love it too. Thanks, Kailey. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So it's been a while. Let's talk some pop culture. We had some celebrity passing. So a bunch of them, they all kind of dropped over the last couple of weeks. We kind of shied away from it for a few weeks. We're back to it. Let's get into it. So the first one that I want to mention, trying to go in kind of order, was Shelley Duvall. Shelley Duvall passed. Two movies that I remember Shelley Duvall from, The Shining and Popeye. Now, is she, in your opinion, is she more known for The Shining, or is she more known as Olive Oil from Popeye with Robin Williams? What do you think, Tom?
Oh, I think it's definitely The Shining.
Ed?
But Popeye, it was a great movie, but I think The Shining was kind of the one that put her on the map, I thought.
Yeah, quite the looker too.
She, what I didn't realize was in her later life, she had some mental problems, I guess. And she was actually on a Dr. Phil episode, and he tried to help her. And from what I hear, she kind of fell off the map a little bit, and she was living down in Texas when she passed away.
Ed, you want to give it a?
Oh, I'd have to say The Shining, hands down. I mean, I for some reason, I really could never really appreciate the Popeye movie. I don't know, maybe it was just how I took it at the time, or even if I've seen it more recently, probably within the last 15, 20 years. I mean, Robin Williams was in that, so it was good, but I would say, I don't know, I thought that it could have been done a lot differently. And The Shining, I mean, I believe that there was one take that she did 147 times in that movie. Um, so she did a great job in that movie. I mean, I've actually been to the place where they actually filmed it up in Estes Park in Colorado. She did such a wonderful job in that movie. I mean, there was never really like a ton of blood and guts, but it scared the hell out of you though. So
Bradford, we're going to you.
Oh,
Shining or Popeye?
she was the original Scream Queen, man. Like she was the original, video vixen running, like you said, she was a looker. She's a very good looking woman running around screaming. She was known for the blood curdling scream in The Shining. I think maybe she got a little bit of typecast because of that movie. That kind of pigeonholed her into what, people just wanted her to be in more horror films. That's kind of like the track. That's the way it happens sometimes. Then she, of course, she went and did Popeye, and I don't know. She's olive oil. Not really like I don't think of like an attractive woman. Olive oil doesn't come to mind, but the Shining is such a classic Stephen King novel, such a classic horror movie. The Shining is brought up and gets little Easter egg and cameoed in a lot of pop culture movies. Ready Player One had like a whole section in that movie that was just like committed to The Shining, but it gets its love.
Now, I thought you were going to go a different way with that statement about The Shining with tinfoil hat kind of stuff with the moon landing and Stanley Kubrick.
Yeah, Stanley Kubrick. That's a deep dive.
Yeah. So, Bob Newhart. Bob Newhart passed away. Bob Newhart's style of comedy was not really my style of comedy, but people loved him. He had his own show. He was in that, kind of Mary Tyler Moore kind of group with Ted Knight and Ed Asner and, that generation of comedians. And the Newhart show was on when we were, kind of 12, 13, 14 in there. And it was a popular show. I mean, if you like that kind of comedy, Tom, thoughts on Bob Newhart?
And for the young people like, Brad and Chris,
I don't know who he is.
More as he was Professor Proton on The Big Bang Theory. And I think he actually won an award for that, for guest starring in a comedy series. I don't know if it was a People's Choice Award, if it was an Academy Award, but he actually won an award for it. And but his deadpan style, I thought, was hilarious.
Ed, thoughts on Bob Newhart?
Well, I have to say, I mean, that deadpan kind of comedy kind of fits in, especially when he did, the Bob Newhart show from Vermont. That's kind of like that very kind of dry New England kind of Northeast kind of humor, that type of thing. One thing that I know that most everybody here on the show, we weren't alive when it came out. However, his first movie was Hell is for Heroes. And he was in the bunker and he was having a make-believe conversation. And I remember watching that movie many, many moons ago with Brett. And, one of those movies that they put on years ago. I believe it was probably either on TV 56 or TV 64, or maybe TV 38. I can't quite remember.
Probably TV 38. We'll go with that. It kind of fits their kind of mold for movies that they would show. Bradford, Bob Newhart.
Bob, I didn't know who he was at first. I had to Google him. He was the dad from Elf.
Yes.
He was Buddy's dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I know him from.
Yeah. So thoughts on Bob Newhart? Yeah, I mean, he had a pretty lengthy life. So and probably I would say a Hollywood legend, for his style and what he's been a part of. Speaking of Hollywood legends, Richard Simmons. thoughts on the passing of Richard Simmons. Ed, I know you had a pair of those shorts at one time.
Well, candy cane shorts were all of the rage back in the 80s, just so you know. If you remember, I think that you and I both had the same height shorts, I believe, that when we played for the St. Joseph's Wildcats, if I remember correctly.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. I remember when I saw him the first time, I'm like, oh, look, ball huggers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have to say that he's from New Orleans. He really kind of really embraced the population of getting people that were overweight and getting them to move. Sweating to the oldies and that type of thing. And it's one of those things where if you really kind of look at it, he brought people into exercise in a very easy and friendly way, and especially low impact and not very intimidating. So you could see that he really, and I believe that he kept off the 120 pounds that he lost, because I think when he was 12 or 13, I think he weighed 182 pounds or something like that. And he kept off, pretty much 100 pounds that he made. So, it was sad to see. He had some good gags with Howard Stern and everything like that going through the years. And, he was always on TV. He always believed in, body movement, which is always a good thing. Prevents diabetes and heart disease and all strokes and all that other fun stuff.
I would say that probably out of the Gen X generation of celebrities, probably one of the more positive minded people with talk about DDP with the power of positivity. Richard Simmons was the original DDP for never any interview you ever saw with that guy. He was always in that Richard Simmons positive mode, whether you laughed at him for underlining things, maybe he was, maybe he wasn't, who knows. He was always about the positive aspect of changing people's lives and actually trying to help people. So you got to respect that about him as a person. Thomas, Richard Simmons.
It's kind of sad because they tried to make a biopic movie on him, and actually, I don't know if they finished it, but Pauly Shore is going to play him, and he actually tried to get Richard Simmons' blessing on the movie. Richard Simmons, he didn't wish him any ill will, but he said he would not endorse the movie at all, because he said he doesn't know how much of it would be actually legit, because they never talked to him about and asked him about some of the life stories. So it'll be interesting to see how the movie comes out.
Bradford, thoughts on your boy Richard Simmons?
I wouldn't say he's my boy or anything like that. Let's not get carried away. He was, I just remember as a kid seeing he's the original infomercial fitness guru, sweating to the oldies. I don't know what else to say about him.
Yeah,
that's y'all's generation.
Yeah, I think way to toss it back there, bud. I just thought, as far as having a positive influence on people, everybody, he had a unique look like Liberace, we'll put it like that. Everybody knew who he was. I actually was at the mall one time. True story, Emerald Square Mall in Attleboro. I'm walking through. All of a sudden, who do I see? Freaking Richard Simmons walking around the mall. True story. Just the tank top, the shorts. He had the hand weights in, and he was going around like it's three-level mall back when the malls were hopping in the 90s, and he had something going on there, a promotional thing, and he was just out doing his walk around the mall, and people were talking to him, and he wasn't, he didn't have a celebrity bone in his body as far as interacting with people. So speaking of people that have the positive impact on people's lives, somebody else, Dr. Ruth Westheimer. The professor, thoughts on Dr. Ruth?
I mean, she lived a very, very full life. I mean, she was a Holocaust survivor, and she built herself up from there, where she was money, man. She came over here, I believe she started out on the radio as a therapist, sex therapist, I guess. And she just built her way up. And I believe she didn't she have a segment on Howard Stern? Was it Howard Stern show?
She had when cable was kind of taken off, she had like a call-in talk show, and if you had late night cable and you were new to that stuff, you kind of wanted to listen to it to see what you would hear, and if your mother and father didn't tell you what's what, you got a little extra from Dr. Ruth. Ed, Dr. Ruth.
Dr. Ruth. Well, Tom brought up an excellent point. I mean, to survive the Holocaust and the horrors, to, with what happened there, and to come on and move over here and to build what she built was truly amazing. Because she was, I mean, if you think about it, before the middle of the 80s, I mean, sex was always kind of taboo about talking about it and everything like that. It was, you'd get the quick 5th and 6th grade, the birds and the bees from the old teacher, girls in that room, boys in that room. Yeah, they give you the big chart up on the screen. This is what it is. And they're like, don't do it, And she kind of took it in a different direction. And, she had that call-in show. And she really kind of embraced the fact about telling you like that sex is part of life, and it should be pleasurable. It's all about taking care of your partner and that type of thing. I thought that she really kind of opened eyes to that late 80s, early 90s kind of generation, and that type of thing.
Bradford, Dr. Ruth.
I mean, I grew up in the age of the internet. I didn't have to dial in my FM radio to the Dr. Ruth show. Worry about the birds and the bees.
Well, it's a true experience, Brad. Let me tell you.
See, we come from it. I'll say this: we come from a generation where you're outside with your buddies and you're playing guns in the woods or hide and seek or something, and you come across a Playboy that's about 12 years old that's been sitting there for about 14 years. And and you say to yourself, my whole world has changed. Hurry up, hide it. I hope nobody's around. Stick it under some leaves. Go get a bag. We're gonna save this right here because nobody could bring it home. That's how our generation learned about stuff. You saw things because you stumbled upon it. And just like that's how I got 2 kids. I stumbled upon it. So
yeah,
that's just how life works. But fond memories of both Richard Simmons
There's
and
the name
Dr.
of the
Ruth.
Elvis tape.
Yeah. Oh yeah. The hidden VHS. Hey, you can't beat the VHS back in the day. Somebody from our generation, somebody from our age group, somebody from a big show from our Gen X time, Shannon Doherty. What do you think, Thomas? Shannon Doherty, thoughts on Charmed?
Come on now, I'm Brad. Way back in like what is it? Probably the 70s and early 80s. There was a show called Little House on the Prairie, and that's actually where she got her start. She was a little Jenny Wilder on Little House on the Prairie, but she was a very polarizing figure in Hollywood. I mean, you either loved her or hated her, I guess, out there, because she was very vocal and she spoke her mind. But it was sad. She fought cancer really hard the last few years, and I mean, I think she had just finished her 4th round of chemo when she passed away. But it's a sad thing. I mean, it just shows you that it doesn't matter how much money you have, cancer will get you.
Ed, thoughts on the passing of Shannon Doherty?
Well, I mean, I still remember AP history, and the first 5 minutes was dedicated to what happened on Beverly Hills 90210.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we don't care who the Holy Roman Emperor was. At this particular point in time, we need to talk for the first 5 minutes about what happened on Beverly Hills 90210. A lot of people that a little bit younger than we are, they don't realize how big that show really was for all of us. It was huge. And I didn't never really watch too much on Charmed. I mean, I always liked her character on Beverly Hills 90210, and I thought she was a great actress. So, I mean, she's certainly not up on the Mount Rushmore or anything, but she definitely, whatever she was in, she always did a great job. So,
yeah, she was tough, I guess, to work with as a co-star or whatever show she was on. There was always an issue with her arguing with somebody about something. And I know she didn't get along with the girls on Charmed, or there was some, infighting with that cast, and she had done the Comic-Con rounds the last couple of years, and the 90210 cast is in that realm of they're making the rounds, and it's kind of sad in a way that her and Luke Perry, who were connected on the show, are both gone now. So, Brad, thoughts on Shannon Doherty?
Yeah, this one actually no. I mean, as I was growing up, I guess I kind of caught the tail end of like the 90210 stuff. But Charmed, come on. That show's a classic. But yeah, she was for lack of better words, she was rhymes with itch. Can I say that word on YouTube?
Yeah, sure, why not?
She's kind of a bitch.
Yeah.
She had beef on 90210. She had beef on Charmed. They kicked her off of Charmed. They brought her back. But she made amends, I think, and I think she was fighting cancer for a while though. I think that's also kind of like why she was so like moody, like the medications and stuff, because she was on and off of Charmed. I think it's one part being in the shit with her friends and one part being sick, whatever. But Luke Perry and her going, I mean, yeah, that's once you start connecting the dots, man, that's kind of sad.
Yeah. I was always an Alyssa Milano guy, just saying for the record. For the record.
For the record.
Yep.
Yes.
Going on record. So if she watches this, you're welcome to come on the podcast. Thank you very much. So let's wrap up the celebrity passings and get to something that we do every week. And it is time for the Professor and Tom's Shitty Picks. Take it away, Czar of the Telestrator.
Here we go. Tom's Shitty Picks is brought to you by Brock Street Brewing Company, located at 244 Brock Street South in Whitby, Ontario. Everything they brew is in-house, including their hard iced teas, their beers, vodka sodas, and their hard seltzers. So if you're in the Whitby area, go check them out and tell them the 1973 podcast sent you.
And Scotty, cut us a check.
Now, for this episode, the Olympics, I got to go full Americana again.
All right.
I'm going full USA. I'm going to pick the USA to win the total medal count. I won't go as far as to say they'll win the most gold medals, but I think they're going to dominate in medals. And so I'm going Team USA.
And, I'm going to add to that. Brad was mentioned how the opening ceremonies was one of his favorite of all times.
Bro.
Just saying.
We could do a whole episode.
We know it.
On the satanic rituals that was the opening ceremony. They had a golden calf. They mocked the Last Supper. Snoop Dogg was wearing a Baphomet necklace, for crying out loud. There's so many more too. Like it's spiritual warfare. One of the podcasters I listen to, he's always talking about it's not the elites versus us. It's not the rich versus the poor. It is literally a spiritual battle of satanic devil worshipers trying to push that shit on us. And go watch the opening ceremony of the Olympics. It's all there.
So speaking of stuff we haven't talked about in a while, it's not time for the tinfoil hat yet, but it is time for the NFL started heating up a little bit. And last night, I get home, I sent out a couple of little texts to get the guys on board, who's on this week, who's in, who's out. All of a sudden, bing, football, bing, football, bing, football, 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 football. I said, you know what? I said, it's time for me to kick back. I've relaxed, just got in the door pretty much. So it's time for football talk. So let's start with the Professor. Still part of your segment. Let's talk some football. Have at it.
These contracts for the quarterbacks are getting out of hand. I mean, it's getting ridiculous because...
You know what grinds my gears?
Yes. Tua Tagovailoa signed a 4-year, $212.4 million deal, $53.1 million a year.
And he's in the bloodline.
Makes him the highest paid quarterback.
Should be.
Now, listen to the 4 highest paid quarterbacks: Trevor Lawrence, Joe Burrow, and Jordan Love, who also signed yesterday. We'll get into him in a second. And then Tua. And it's these quarterbacks have to realize that it's a team game. I mean, look how at Brady, Mahomes, Peyton Manning, all these guys that great quarterbacks, they know enough that you can, if you get a big contract like that, you're not going to be able to afford the team around you. Doesn't matter how many points you score if you don't have a defense that can stop anyone. And if you look at Miami now, Miami has 3 players on offense guaranteed. All 3 guys are getting at least guaranteed $70 million a year. I mean, that's ridiculous. It's totally ridiculous.
Bradford, you got to weigh in.
Man, I've read up on the whole look. I don't know if Jordan Love, he was drafted in what, 2020, but I think he only played 1 full season, and that was last year. Now,
Yep.
I'm not saying he didn't do great. Like he played outstandingly well. Obviously, they beat the Cowboys in the dang playoffs. But for a guy on a rookie contract, had 1 good season, and the front office is automatically just throwing the bag at him, being like, "You're a franchise quarterback. We're gonna pay you this." Now, the way they structured the deal, from what I read, there's like bonuses, incentives. There's a pile of guaranteed money. Then there's stuff that's paid over time. So their front office worked a deal. So I think it was a very beneficial deal to both Jordan Love and the team to give them room to sign people the way it was structured. But then I look at like Tua. Like when you say who's the top paid quarterbacks, the first one that comes to mind is not Tua. It's definitely not Trevor Lawrence. But what these teams are doing, and they're smart for doing this, is they pay these guys who are mostly unproven market setting deals. So as the market starts to increase, now, because guess who's up due for a contract? Dak Prescott. So now they just basically forced Jerry Jones' hand. Jerry Jones is going to have to make him the next highest paid. And if you pay Dak, then the quarterback after him is going to have to be paid. And it's just going to keep going up and up and up in tiers. So they pay these dudes these mega contracts straight out the gate like this. And in the long run, they're going to wind up being not the highest paid quarterbacks. It's a business move. It's very smart. And when you got a team like the Cowboys, where CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons are both holding out to be the highest paid non-quarterbacks in the NFL, how are you going to pay both of them? And Dak is due for a contract. The math don't add up. One of those 3, or 2 of those 3 aren't going to be with the Cowboys in the next 2 years. Let's just be honest. So I don't know. It is a quarterback friendly league. They pay these dudes the big bag. Like Tom said, you can't bring anybody to help. What do they want to do? Unless you're the Eagles. The Eagles figured out how to pay people and make it work. I don't get it. Why can't other teams be like, why can't the Cowboys do what the Eagles do? I don't know. Doesn't make any sense.
Edwin, want to weigh in?
Well, I'm just going to say, I'm going to give you a quote from Bill Belichick. Look at assholes. These quarterbacks, no, I'm talking about, that's what he'd say to the players, man. Not to you, not to Tom. I ain't talking to nobody on
I just got a nice pat on the back from somebody saying what a good host you are for this podcast, and you're already calling me an asshole.
Yeah, but that was your mom.
Jeez. My mother watches this show.
I guess you're going to have to fire me or something. I don't know. You're going to have to suspend me or something. They're going to have to hold a paycheck on me or something. No, I mean, like, first and foremost, the only one out of those top 4 that signed deals that's worth anything is Joe Burrow. He's the only one that's good. He's the only one that's gone to the Super Bowl out of all of them. Tua is fragile. I mean, if he takes one more big shot, like, he's done. Now, a lot of it too is just like, these are the deals that they sign, and typically in the NFL, they're typically 1-year rolling contracts. So they're 1-year personal services contracts. So it's not, even when they say it's guaranteed money, it's not necessarily guaranteed money. And I agree with everybody. These contracts are just getting way out of hand. Like, I mean, but again, you have to think about it. Like, NFL Network is going to YouTube. That's going to be their paid subscription now. Like all these, then they're going to, they're doing the prime games on Thursday night. They're putting like 2 of the playoff games on the Peacock network. So the NFL's getting their money, and the players are going to get paid. And the thing about it is like, the NFL used to be somewhat affordable to go to. Regular people can't afford to go to the games anymore. They're outpricing their actual real fans. And nobody can. What are you going to pay? $300 a seat to go see a football game?
And freeze your ass off?
No thanks. I'll sit
Yeah.
at home when I'm free. I'm 2 minutes from my bathroom, and I can come back to my seat, and I'm not even missing any part of the game.
Right.
You know,
For that
and,
IBS.
and part of it too is, and part of it is that to pay these players, you have to have more commercials. When you actually go to and watch an NFL game live, it's boring. There are so many stops in the game. There is no flow to that game whatsoever, especially if it's like a primetime game and it's like the game of the week. Like the game takes forever. So I mean, the players are going to get paid regardless. I mean, the NFL has built a very successful business model, and these quarterbacks will always get paid because I can't remember if Brad or Tom mentioned it, but bottom line is that I mean, it is certainly a quarterback friendly league. It is not like back in the day, back in the 80s and early 90s when, the defensive lineman could take 2 or 3 steps and really unload on these guys. You breathe near a quarterback now and you get a 15-yard flag. So, but again, there's only 31 to 32 teams, and there's only really probably 15 or 16 true starting quarterbacks in the NFL that can really play. So you got to pay them. But I don't agree with the number. It's stupid.
Yeah. So you want to pause the football talk till it heats up a little bit, and we'll just keep giving out little blurts here and there, and we'll get the fellas on once we in a couple returning faces for football season, so we can get that kind of off the hot stove, maybe into the oven after that, and let's talk some wrestling. Oh, before we
one thing before we get rolling on the wrestling.
What's up, brother?
ET phone home. How about the Canadian soccer team using a drone to spy on somebody's practice?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that.
You didn't see that?
No.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, that's ridiculous. You're using a drone to it's soccer. I mean, how much edge can you get from taping a practice?
Maybe they're giving it a trial run.
Okay.
For future reference, for when they play Argentina or Brazil or Portugal, one of the heavies. Who knows?
How else should they cheat? Should they send like one of their staff members to the opposing team's practice and sit across the sidelines with binoculars and steal their signs?
Well, that's effective and it works.
You want to watch some good soccer? Watch Ted Lasso. Great TV show. Yep. I think it's only 3 seasons, but I would, for a guy that's not a big soccer person, I absolutely love the concept of that show.
Yep.
Let's talk some wrestling. So we're going into SummerSlam weekend next week. Hopefully we have a big show to follow that up. That's what we're planning. Bradford is going to send a video to open our show. I didn't ask him, but I'm asking him now. From a SummerSlam watch party.
The fuck?
With everybody who's there, just say, 1973 podcast, whatever. You do good with that, Brad. You work well. You and Chris, you got your things you do really well.
I'll do my best.
Okay, we love you. We love the effort. It sounds like you're all in. I love it. So some wrestling talk. Cody Rhodes, let's real quick. They did a show in Japan. I thought it was really cool. At the end of his match, they gave him a replica robe of one of the appearances against superstar Billy Graham at Madison Square Garden with the hat, red robe. I thought it was really cool. Great little touch, viral moment, things like that. Are cool for nostalgia purposes and talking points. I thought that was really, really cool. Things are heating up. We got the I want to do some fantasy booking. Going into the Netflix run where maybe Raw will get a little risque. I would love to see the Liv Morgan, Rhea Ripley with Dominic in the middle love triangle, where all 3 of them are a thruple, as the kids say, and Dominic stuck in the middle, getting all the heat from the fans because he doesn't know what to do with that situation, which would be great heat for him. And they could be, one's very dominating and the other one's kind of, little on the lipstick side, we'll say. Keep it like that. And he's caught in the middle and all 3 of them are a thing. Be really cool if they did that. Pull a little Raven, Tommy Dreamer angle in there a little bit where there was stuff going on. Bradford, thoughts on the current state going into SummerSlam?
Well, I like what you said about what they did for Cody. Like they did a WWE live super show or whatever they call it in Japan. And also they had AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura get a match, which like both of them kind of fell off the radar since WrestleMania. And I'm like, my goodness, that is like a fantasy booking that would do very well in the States. So I don't know. Hopefully they like tried it out in Japan. It was well received. I'm pretty sure the fans want to see that. I want to see that. I think that's a great matchup. But yeah, I've also kind of like read online that maybe I've been saying Judgment Day is going to get broke up since like the Royal Rumble, and I've whiffed on it every single time. But it's their days, pun intended, are numbered. So I think maybe this is that one in SummerSlam where Finn and Liv Tyler are going to kind of steal Judgment Day away. Maybe Dom comes with, maybe not. I'm not sure if that's going to happen, but I think the writing's on the wall. I think Damian Priest is definitely leaving the team. I would love to see that love triangle thing. I just, the more skin, the better. And it's SummerSlam, so they can get a little risque. Let's bring back those old lingerie matches that Vince used to book.
I think from where it's they try to getting a little bit more reality based, and I like that. I don't want to see them go too hokey with certain things.
No,
ship,
not at all.
that ship has sailed. I mean, I think they could do true to life stuff where all these Bravo housewife shows are so popular that they could kind of do something like that and just kind of, I don't know what they could do, but they could do better than the Attitude Era type stuff. That's already Thomas, thoughts on going into SummerSlam?
Well, it's funny because right now I think there are 7 actual scheduled matches and 6 of them are for belts. So I don't remember another pay-per-view where they had this many title matches, but I'm looking at the card and out of like the 7 matches, there's only like maybe 2 matches where I'm looking at it saying, well, this guy's going to more than likely win. Like Braun Breaker, I can't see them holding off on giving him the IC belt any longer than what they've done. I think it's his time. And to be honest, I think Cody wins. I think this is probably where Roman Reigns comes back and they start the whole OG bloodline and the new bloodline feud. And but other than that, I mean, I think my prediction with the CM Punk and McIntyre match, I think you're going to see kind of a repeat of, I don't know if it was a Survivor Series match back in the day, but it was, I think, Bret Hart versus, I don't know if it was Undertaker, and Shawn Michaels was the referee, and Shawn Michaels went to hit Bret Hart, and Bret Hart moved and he hit the Undertaker, and Bret Hart ended up winning the belt. And he did. So I think you'll see something like that happen. I don't even know who they'll have win that match, but I think Seth Rollins is going to cost one of the two the belt and start the feud with whoever wins there. But it should be
that one's not for a belt though, is it? Drew McIntyre.
No, that's the only one that's not for a belt.
That's not. It's not. Is that even like for like to be a contender, or is it just like a feud?
Yeah, I think it's just a feud.
Yeah, you're all over the place, Bradford. You're cutting off the professor. You're calling Liv Morgan, Liv Tyler. So you're.
Did I say Liv Tyler?
Oh yeah, but you love it.
And I think that Gunther wins the belt on Damian Priest. I think Brad's right. I think this is where the Judgment Day kind of falls apart. I
think you're going to see a lot of like end of, like I like on pay-per-views, the end of a storyline and the start of. I do think that the big pay-per-views, especially for them, should be the blow off for something else to start, unless it's like a long-term storytelling, like how the Roman Reigns story was. But there was all kinds of little stories thrown in there too. So the Bloodline's going to win the tag belts, right? You'd think that's the prediction. Yeah, just to build those guys up. So Jacob Fatu, 3 matches in, and he's already a tag team champion at the end of this. Pretty cool. Cody's going to retain the belt. helped by Roman Reigns, probably. You think Rhea Ripley's going to win the belt, Thomas?
I don't think so. I think Dom's going to turn on her and side with Liv Morgan. I think it's time for Rhea Ripley. I think she's going to end up going face. Going to be a good guy for a while.
There's probably going to be some kind of gaga coming out of that dog and pony show thing. The match isn't going to be long. That's 15, 20 minutes tops if it gets that far. LA Knight winning the US title, that's a lock, right?
I think well, like you can't keep giving it to Logan Paul though, right? Like he's hardly on TV. He shows up for quick cameos, quick appearances, and he's holding a belt. Like I get it. He is a big star. I'm a fan of like the way he works in the ring. I think he's great for the business. But if you're not going to be present, you're not going to be there. Like you're not Roman Reigns. Like you can't just go dip out and come back whenever the hell you want. You're Logan Paul, man. Like give LA Knight his due. Let him win this belt. Let him be a fighting champion. Let him defend that belt. You know, kind of add some more prestige to one of the lesser mid-card belts.
The thing I don't understand about the Braun Breaker thing is he already lost to Sami Zayn, like the last pay-per-view. Why are they acting like he just didn't lose to him? I mean, they have him beat, Dragon off, which is another guy that they're trying to push. And why would you put those two guys together when there's no belt on the line, a preliminary match for a number one contender? No, you don't do that.
They are messing up Braun Breaker's like push. Like they introduced him kind of similar to the way they did with Goldberg. He would come out, he had these bullshit squash matches where he would just spear the dude, pin him. Next week, same thing. Spear the dude, pin him. They're like, this guy's unbeatable. He doesn't get booked for King of the Ring, so he went on a rampage, kind of like how Jacob Fatu is just let to go unhinged on SmackDown, wrecked everybody on Raw, and then they're just like, oh, go lose to Sami Zayn clean. And then he didn't even go in there and like destroy him afterwards. It was like, oh, I got beat.
Right. And then they act like you never even saw that match like 3 weeks ago.
So if he doesn't come in here and absolutely demolish Sami Zayn and mop the floor with him, I'm gonna be pissed.
Yeah.
Braun Breaker needs to be pushed. This guy's an animal. He's a freaking animal in the ring, and they're holding him back, and I don't know why.
He's kind of like how they were doing with Wardlow when he first broke away from MJF. They had Wardlow kind of like how Braun Breaker is, same kind of moveset too, and they haven't done nothing with him. And then he was a free agent for a little while, and there was some buzz that they were going to sign him WWE. They were interested, of course, because of his look. And then he re-signs with AEW, and you haven't heard from him. Which AEW, they had that match with MJF that went an hour, probably one of the better matches that they've had in a while. But they're billing it as their best match that they've had in the 5 years they've been around. That's just trying to mock it on their point, because some of those CM Punk MJF matches were really good, especially that chain match. And I can't believe they're just trying to push that way. And MJF, since he's been back, has been nothing but fire since he's been back on. That's him and Tony Storm are the two reasons why I watch AEW. That's how I like storytelling like that. And you know, I wouldn't be surprised if Tony Storm ends up back in WWE with the character that she has now, because it's she could do a lot with that in WWE with those younger girls that are there. I was gonna segue to something and I lost my train of thought. Now I remember what it was. And this is for Ed. So Logan Paul, I want you to think about this, Ed. Logan Paul is the longest reigning U.S. champion in the history of that title belt, going back to 1975. Can you believe that?
No.
Yep. When I saw that stat and I thought about everybody that's held that belt and how prestigious that belt once was, and they've kind of wiped the floor with it a little bit, but he's the longest reigning United States heavyweight champion in the history of the belt. Thoughts on that, Ed?
I mean, if he's not showing up every week, he doesn't deserve the belt. Like, look, I mean, if you're the world heavyweight champion of the world, You can kind of pick your spots, you know. But that's a belt that you used to see on TV quite often, and that type of thing. And that's like one of those belts that should be like a really visible belt. I still have. I've watched exactly 90 minutes of WWE this year, and it was a couple weeks ago. It's okay. I still think that some of the storylines, there's too many people. They need to thin the herd. My other thought process too on what's going on. Like you gotta keep. I mean, I like the gimmick that you're doing with the two ladies and what's his name? He looks like Eddie Guerrero on steroids, basically.
Dirty Dom.
I mean, I like the storyline, but you gotta leave with something better than that. Like that shouldn't be the first thing that you leave with. Leave with something better than that. That should be like coming back from the 8:15 commercial. Like come back with that. Come back with two things back to back strong. Don't leave with that. Like you're not keeping. I mean, don't get me wrong. Like are they pretty ladies? Of course they are. Are they athletic ladies? Of course they are. But it's not keeping my eyes on the TV.
See, and there you have it. That's one of the problems is the shows are too long, 2 hours max for a show. The roster is too big. There's people on that roster that you can cut that you're not going to worry about losing to AEW. They're not going to, if you can let Sasha Banks go, you can let anybody pretty much go other than like, you should have a top 10 of people that you cannot lose off your roster. After that, if you send them over there, they're not going to draw you anything. Now the Hardy Boys are talking about coming back and having a run in NXT because they've never held those belts. They can barely make it through AEW now. Not that they're there anymore, but the matches that they were having, they weren't bangers. Not that I was never really a Hardy Boys fan, but them in NXT. Yeah, I mean, they're just looking to go into the Hall of Fame and try to win those belts because they're the only belts they haven't really won. So I can see.
Speaking of signings, did you see where the Motor City Machine Guns are rumored to have signed?
Yep.
WWE.
WWE, and they're way past their prime. I mean, when they were hot, when TNA was kind of how AEW is now, when they had that bigger roster of talent, but I don't know. I think time has passed on those guys too. I mean, it's good for them that they finally get a look, but way past. Those guys were gotta be like in their late 30s now, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I got another question for the other three guys here on the panel. I'm flipping the script here a little bit. I like them apples. How do you guys feel like the vignettes are? Do you feel like the vignettes are a little bit too long, that they're a little bit too drawn out? Do you think that it just feels like that they're almost reading it off of a cue card? Do you guys feel that way? Because that's how I felt with some of the vignettes that I saw when I watched a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Go ahead, Bradford.
The Wyatt 6 ones, I mean, yeah, because they definitely are just reading. They're well put together, I think. What I'm not prepared for and what I read online is we're gonna get a vignette every week for each member of the Wyatt 6. Oh boy, we've only done Bo Dallas and what's his name?
Rowan.
Yeah, Rowan. Yeah. We've only done 2. There's still a handful left to go.
I don't know, man.
And if that's going to be the thing, and so they already slow rolled it so much to even introduce them. Now we get a vignette every week, and then they come out and they mess with Kurt. I almost said Kurt Angle, Chad Gable,
and Liv Tyler.
And Liv Tyler. Hey, look, man, I was out in the sun all day. I'm all right. My brain is fried, but like, yeah, the vignettes, man, the solo vignettes, Solo Sikoa and the New Bloodline, their vignettes on SmackDown are legit. The Wyatt 6 ones, I really don't need 3 or 4 more of those.
I like how they you can tell different people are involved with different storylines. You can tell that because Jacob Fatu doesn't even talk. He just stands there.
Yeah.
But the way that he commands the attention of what is this? Look at this guy. Like he doesn't, it's a presence. And like I said, what's missing in wrestling is the larger than life guy, the guy that can't work a 9 to 5 job. You don't want to go watch wrestling and see a guy that looks like he would pump your gas or make you a burger. That you're looking for these guys that can't function in normal society. That's why they're in wrestling. That's what is missing, the dangerous stuff. You look at the UFC guys, does anybody wear jewelry in a UFC match? No. Does anybody wear an earring? Why? Because it's a fight. So why would you let somebody in a fight wear a medallion or a necklace? If you're in a real fight, that'd be the first thing you rip off just to piss the guy off. Rip the earring out of his ear. So the psychology of it is it's a fight, right? That it's two guys, one guy and another guy. They hate each other. They want to fight. Why would you? Even when you see two girls square off, they take their earrings out. They take their rings off. I don't understand why the whole psychology of the fight, and we'll start with just that, isn't just based on what you see in UFC. I don't understand it. It's when somebody's getting choked in the corner, they're stomping their feet. If you were getting choked for real, you'd be trying to grab the person's. Let's talk about the psychology of what you're presenting and go from there.
Nope.
So, Jacob Fatu, Samoan Werewolf, big fan. Hope they do a lot with him. Tag team champion with like 3 matches under his belt. Great, good for him. He deserves it. Bradford, anything else to add to this SummerSlam party?
Can't wait, man. It's if either Roman Reigns or Jimmy Uso, one of those two needs to come back and get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
I really hope they don't slow play this like they slow play the Wyatt 6. Just
I'm checked out with that. I'm all checked out with that.
Yeah.
Thomas, anything else to add before we move on
I'm
from
done.
the rest? Okay, so we're moving on to one of our better segments that we've done. It's time for get out your tinfoil hat and Bradford, Thomas, lead us in.
All righty. Brad's Conspiracy of the Week is brought to you by our very own 1973 podcast store. We're going to have a QR code up on the YouTube version of this episode. So all you got to do is click on that, take a picture, click on it. It'll send you to the store. We're usually feeling a little generous, so you're probably going to get free shipping or something like that.
Yeah.
So start your Christmas shopping early. Buy a T-shirt, a mug, buy an apron. There's stuff for everyone there.
Stop being so cheap. Buy some gear.
Buy some gear. Come on, winter's coming. You're going to need a couple shirts, probably a hoodie for the rink. Brad's always at the rink. He needs a couple hoodies, things like that. So, Brad, take it away.
Bro, I don't need a hoodie. It is so hot down here. I've taken 3 showers today. All right. I'm dying. Can you share the screen? Did you enable that?
Okay. Let me you're supposed to tell me ahead of time before we get going.
Look, I've been in the sun all day. I've had one frozen daiquiri and one bourbon. Like
It's not an Aerosmith video, is it? Because you got little Tyler on the break.
No. Oh man, I'm gonna go watch Armageddon after this. All right, screen share. All right, fellas, prepare to have your mind blown. So, Scotty Too Hottie was asking us, are we going to talk about the Trump shooting? Well, here we are.
We're waiting.
Can y'all see it?
Of course.
Okay. Yep. So I'm going to play this clip. It's muted. So it's off YouTube. It's our platform. So we shouldn't have any copyright issues here. Pay attention to this man right here.
Yep.
It looks like a homeless person.
Yep. JFK Jr.
Hey, don't steal my. Hold on. Look, so Trump gets shot at. Everybody sits down except for the homeless man. He's just standing there. He actually looks left and right before the gunshots even go off.
He's like, are they shooting at me or him?
Well, it's almost as if he was like waiting for it to pop off. Like he's looking around. He's like, "Hey, they haven't shot yet," and then it happens. But he doesn't sit down. He everyone else takes cover to some extent, and this homeless man is just standing here. He kind of looks lost, kind of looks clueless. But when you get to the end of the thing, he eventually sits down and like pulls out his cell phone and starts texting somebody. I'm like, so you just witnessed the presidential nominee get shot at and this mass pandemonium, and you're just casually sending that tweet or whatever. I don't know what he's doing. It's odd. That's all I'm saying. So, as was already mentioned, because great minds think alike, this man's name is Vincent Fusca. He is allegedly JFK Jr. They say JFK Jr. faked his death, and this is that guy. So if you start going down the rabbit hole, pulling these threads, let's get out of here.
Oh, who's that?
So what's really interesting is 4th of July, the Rolling Stone magazine published a story about this guy being JFK Jr. It's really weird because JFK Jr. was really close friends with Trump. They were like super tight back in the 90s. Obviously, JFK Jr. died in 1999, allegedly. And then this whole thing with QAnon came out, which is, this right-wing conservative conspiracy theorist thread or forum. And this guy Q is always posting. They think Q is Vincent Fusca, aka JFK Jr. That's just one of the things. So if we pull up some facial recognition, I don't know. Like, it's pretty freaking convincing. Like, these are basically the same guys. And what's even more weird about this whole guy, his name, Vincent Fusca, in Latin means to conquer the darkness. So that is basically what Trump is trying to do. Throw out drag the swamp, throw out the deep state and everything. So if this dude is like trying to team up with Trump, kind of makes sense. His name would mean to conquer the darkness. He's also only been on the scene since like 2018, 2019. He came out of nowhere. He just appeared in the political scene. There's pictures of him, Lauren Boebert, all kinds of other Congress people, representatives. Like, whoever he is, he has some pull. He has some clout, because when he shows up, people start taking pictures with him. So there's that. He's backstage with Trump. Here's another face-to-face picture. He kind of looks like JFK Jr. Am I right? Like this very close resemblance. Take away the glasses, the scruff. He has a very likely backstory. Like, he's
the nose. It's the nose.
The nose and the chin is like perfect. And so if you were going to fake your death and come back a couple of decades later, would you not claim to be from another country? He's claiming to be this Italian American immigrant. Like, who's going to go search down his high school and his grade school in his own neighborhood in Italy? Nobody's doing that. Whereas if he just popped up on the scene and was like, oh, hey, I'm from Barstow, California, people are going to go search his old yearbooks and they're going to follow the trail to find out who he is. Shows up, glasses, scraggly beard, probably a wig, always wearing a hat, looks like a homeless person, the complete opposite of what JFK Jr. was. He was a Playboy, GQ Man of the Year, all that. So he's either JFK Jr., that's one of the things. He might be John Denver. I've seen that one.
John Lennon.
Or he's a time traveler. I don't know. He might be a time traveler. And that would kind of explain the wacky behavior of him standing on stage behind Trump. Just seconds before the shooting, he's like looking back and forth. And when it happens, he's like, oh, let me update whatever this device is. This is a little time traveling device that he pulled out. I don't know. But
who's jumping on that? Ed?
I got a question. Well, maybe if you remember correctly, maybe that he knew his plane was gonna go down off of Martha's Vineyard, and he kind of just made sure that he wasn't in that plane.
I mean, at the time, if you were a Kennedy, you were known to wake up dead, or they were the Kennedy name was being shot down and gunned down, and and maybe he faked his death for his own safety.
Professor, what you look at already smiling?
Football. FBI's already listening to me, so I don't.
Put your phone on airplane mode. You're all good.
I told Scotty I had a good one queued up, so he better listen to this one and comment on YouTube about it. This one was just for him.
I think that there's so much with the conspiracies right across the board. I think everyone, whatever we're talking about, has a sprinkle of truth to it, and how deep it goes from there. People don't just come up with stories that consecutively, grow legs over the years. There's got to be an inkling of truth to it, because everything would be a story then. Somewhere somebody saw something for whatever subject we're talking about, and it's just a matter of, for years, it's just the washing it over. Like, take the Roswell crash, let's just say. Why is it that right after the Roswell crash, all of a sudden Hollywood just made fun of sci-fi movies? They just made a big, it's almost like saying, everybody that sees that is Little Green Men, or, there's a big boom. The horror movies kind of stopped and it became sci-fi, everything from oversized insects to, the original The Thing. It was all just part of the Hollywood cover up for what's truth, blended with stuff that's just a whitewash over it. So I think that the Roswell crash probably happened. Look at all the things that came after that: TV, fiber optics, the microwave. All that stuff was supposedly reverse engineered from that original spacecraft that they got. And supposedly before that there was crashes, but not on record. That was the first one that they actually, it got printed in the newspaper that it actually happened, and then they retracted it and said it was that stupid weather balloon. So we could talk about this all day, Bradford, all freaking day. But
let's do it one day.
Yeah, it's the whitewash, right? That everything, it's just ingrained with a whitewash, and it's a matter of, getting past that. And I don't think we'll ever know the truth about this stuff. That's the whole ruse with the whole thing. You'll never ever know, because if you can't handle the truth, a lot of people would lose their marbles if they knew what was what. If certain things that were instilled for years in society are all fabricated. Just imagine that.
This guy Vincent Fusca, like, you can't, like, always say, like, let's look at coincidences. This guy ran a Trump campaign out of Pennsylvania. He had like a Trump van. He'd drive around, give out Trump stickers and buttons, and he wrecked it, and he started a GoFundMe to like pay for it or some shit. But he's also been photographed like in Trump's limo. Like, it's like there's a homeless person. He has no identity. So if he's not JFK Jr., who is he? How is he getting into Trump's limo? Why do other Congress people, Republican representatives of ours, that elected officials, all want to take pictures with this guy?
Never know.
It's fucking weird, man.
Did you see that video that somebody posted from Japan, that somebody found a iPhone 13 or something like that in 1980 on a news broadcast? Did you see that? There was some news footage that, look at Ed with a MAGA hat on. He's agreeing with me.
No, it's not.
No, that's a Washington Capitals.
Anyways, what I was saying was, there was this video that surfaced recently where there was a Japanese news footage from 1980, where this guy that's a news reporter, of course it's in Japanese, he's going through like an apartment, and he grabs something out of a drawer and he shows it up to the screen, and it's an iPhone 13. People have looked at it. It's an actual iPhone 13, and the film was from 1980. It's popped up recently on the internet. So riddle me this, Cape Crusaders.
I'm about to go Google that.
Yeah, you'll see it. These things are weird because they'll pop up and they'll go viral for like a week, and then all of a sudden you can't find it. And then like years later, it'll come up again with somebody, had it saved or something on a file. So it's weird how that stuff works.
Bro, Vincent Fusca took a picture with Lauren Boebert. I could not find, I wanted to show that photo. I could not find it. Like it's off of Google. It's not on there.
Instead, you showed Montel Williams' girlfriend after that video was done. That's a whole nother thing.
You mentioned a MAGA or a MAGA hat. Just the last little tidbit. A MAGA is the highest level of priest in the Satanic Church.
Oh. Can you believe it?
Just a gee whiz.
Just
Fifth degree Satanic priest. They're called a MAGA. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just throw that out there.
Yeah, like Umaga from WWE.
Hey.
What can you do?
What are you gonna do?
So we're gonna wrap up the tinfoil half this week because we could get real long-winded with this, and we're gonna move on to another segment that we've been doing. And Chris isn't with us this week, but he sent in his Cooking with Chris. So Thomas,
alrighty,
do your thing, chicken wing.
Alrighty, Cooking with Chris is brought to you by the book Loving Elliot, a fitting tribute to the undying love. It was written by our own Andy Clark. Elliot was the oldest special needs Jack Russell Terrier when he passed at age 21. The book's available at Amazon.com.
Go buy a freaking book. Come on, read a good story. Give it to your kids. Give them some culture. Be a good parent. Buy a book. So we'll drop Chris's video in probably right here under Ed's head.
What's up, everybody? Chris from the 1973 podcast back at you with another episode of Cooking with Chris. Here you are again in my lovely kitchen. This is my home away from home. I love this place. I'm in here more than any other room in the house. And today we are doing Asian Invasion, Asian-inspired chicken wings. And here's the recipe, guys. So the good thing about marinades is don't need to go crazy with following an exact recipe. You get your cut chicken wings or party wings. Make sure they're cut up and divided. You're going to add some salt, black pepper, brown sugar, ginger paste, Chinese 5-spice, a little bit of honey, some soy sauce. This is hot chili sesame oil. You can just get regular sesame oil, is fine. And some toasted sesame seeds. I'm going to throw that in a bowl and mix it all up, and I'll show it to you in a second. Bam, there it is. Delicious marinade with all those tangy, sweet Chinese spices. You're going to want this to sit in your fridge for at least overnight, 24 hours. The more, the better. Let that meat soak in that delicious flavor. And I'm not sure if we're going to throw it on the grill or if we're going to do them in the oven, but we'll decide that tomorrow. All right, guys, I'll see you back here soon. All right, we're back with the wings. It's actually been about 3 days. These bad boys were in their little marinade bath. So they are going to taste amazing. Spread them out in a sheet pan like this. I decided to throw them in the oven. I think they're going to come out much sweeter as they bake nice and slowly. Sprayed a little bit of pan so they don't stick as much. And we got the oven right now at 400. Gonna let them cook slow. Once we flip them, then we might hit the broiler on them real quick. So let's get them in the oven. There it is. All right, guys. See you back when it's done. All right, guys. Here's those wings, fresh out of the oven. Take them out. Gonna let them cool down. I like them on the well done side. You can cook them a little less if you'd like. Give it a try in a second. There you go, guys. Check it out. Finished product. Looks beautiful. Put a little chopped chives in there, make it look even better. I'm gonna give this a shot. Sticky. Make sure you have some napkins. You're gonna need them. Delicious.
So, I guess we'll wrap up this episode. We're about an hour into it. Plus, we got the interview this week. So, got some shout outs. We're going to start with Ed's head. Ed, shout out this week.
Shout out to all of our listeners. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kailey, for coming on. You did such a wonderful job. Thank you very much for coming on. Check her out. She wonderful, wonderful young lady, and we're very happy to have her as friends of the show now.
Friends
So
of the
thanks a lot.
show.
Friends of the show.
Friends of the show. Brad
Friends of the
Fish,
show.
what do you got this week?
Uh,
Besides sunstroke.
I want to shout out Chris. Sorry you can't be here, buddy. I know you're busy tucking your wiener between your legs and wearing your Brock Purdy jersey. Wish you all the best. I'll see you next week.
Wow. Opening ceremony joke there too. Thomas, what do you got?
Is it a coincidence that Chris and the Phantom are both not here in the same week?
Hey.
I was just offended that the Phantom was on social media bashing the Philadelphia team store. And I'm like, wait a minute. If you want to burn the Eagle stuff or the Philly stuff, that's fine. But Mishkov's coming to Philly. You want to keep those jerseys. You want to keep all that stuff pristine. You just want to, be careful who you want to offend there, Brankowitz. So, so I'm gonna wrap it up this week. Yeah, it went by fast. There was like an hour, and we just did our thing and talked shop and yucked it up and made fun of Brad for once and his new wife, Liv Tyler, and I just want to say thanks to everybody for another week, and I think a big episode next week. What do you think, Ed? Big episode?
Big time stuff.
I think so. So watch for us after SummerSlam. It should be good, and it'll be I believe a full recap of SummerSlam. It should be pretty epic. So we'll see you guys next week.
Happy birthday, Christine.